The three of you that watched my videos, which mainly consist of ex-high school classmates and conscripted people from random places, I'll tell you a little more about Joe. Specifically, Joe after high school. Joe went off to college out of state to become a cheerleader, which really didn't make too much sense, but that's what he wanted to do, and he ended up doing it. He was a cheerleader, and I'll hand it to Joe. Joe was not a fit individual when he became a cheerleader, but college, like athletics, they put your ass to work. So Joe got in pretty good shape when he came home. Look, oh, good for him, whatever. But here's the thing about Joe. Joe ended up liking the same girl I liked because he was an asshole and he liked to cock block people. And nothing would do until he cock blocked me. I don't know why. I really don't. But I didn't really know what to do in that situation. And her and him took to liking each other, and I was like, what the hell, man? And that was what I couldn't forgive. Him being an asshole, lying, calling me fat, I put up with it and tolerate it. But for me, that was the last straw, where he was just like, oh, I'm sorry, man. Sorry I asked her out. I was bored. Oh, yeah, whatever, man. And I know what you're thinking, well, sorry, all's fair. But I'd like to believe there's honor amongst thieves, because he still considered me a friend, even though I didn't care for him, but whatever. That was kind of the end of that. I stopped, wanting to hang out with him. But it turns out, Joe had a lot more going on than just trying to go after the women I liked. Joe got into some weird stuff. Well, I won't say weird. I will not. It's not the way to say it. Joe decided he wanted to be a woman. And a little more backstory on Joe. He was the biggest homophobe. He was so homophobic, he wouldn't wear shorts for fear people might think he was flaming gay. And some people always tell you, well, the bigger the homophobe, the gayer they are. I don't really know how true that is. This is back in the day. We're talking middle 2000s. This is before the spectrum of sexuality and whatever. But Joe was on MySpace posting pictures of himself in a dress. He's making blog posts that he's going to become a fully fledged woman. He's going to have the surgery. He's going to do this, that, and the other. He even started going by a new name and grew some really greasy hair and some awful facial hair. And he must have been doing something, because the Myrtle Beach trip, he'd lost a solid 30, 40 pounds of muscle from whatever he was trying to do. And then at a certain point, he changed his mind, decided he wasn't gay, didn't want to transition, and didn't like the idea of people talking about him transitioning. Because he called me drunk one time. He's like, I want a list of everyone that's talked shit about me. I was like, are you kidding me right now? You called me at 2 a.m. for this? Man, well, I just need a list. He was drunk. And at this point, I know you're like, well, you probably should have supported your friend. I really didn't care. As far as I could tell, he did it for the attention. This was MySpace. Nobody posted on MySpace without the hope that somebody would comment on it, look at it. That's what it existed for. MySpace existed for attention. And someone like Joe, who craved attention like a heroin addict, as it was gonna want attention. And transitioning and being gay was gonna get attention, because where we grew up in Alabama, being gay was not looked upon well. Still probably isn't, but I really didn't care. But Joe decided to change his mind. I'm not that person anymore, blah, blah, blah. And then Joe ended up dropping out of college and joining the Army. And he legit joined the Army. He was in the Army. And we were expecting when they wanted to hang out with him. And I was like, dude, I don't want to hang out with him. I just want to be left alone. I don't want to deal with Joe. So the only time I hung out with him was like completely by accident, when he would show up randomly at places, and that was kind of that. And they're like, man, we had to deal with Joe and his war stories. So let me guess, he told you how many people he killed. It was like 50, but only 2 with his bare hands. No, he said 1, maybe 2. It was like the first time he ever told the truth. Ever. And the next thing we know, Joe's getting married. And it's to a woman. And I'm like, okay, cool. And then he wanted me to be in the wedding, and I was like, dude, no. I don't like you. And I don't want to drive 8 hours to be in your wedding. And yes, I know you're probably going to go, well, that was a bad thing to do to your friend. Have you not heard anything I've said on here and all the shit he pulled? I mean, I could probably write a book about it, but just the end point is, he was an asshole. And I didn't want to deal with an asshole. As I got older, I realized, if you don't like someone, you don't have to deal with them if you don't want to. That's how life works. And he got married, and eventually it came out that his wife was a beard, is the expression, which is, he was gay in the Army. And that's not well looked upon, so he had to get married to keep up appearances. Go figure, because he got divorced shortly after. And then the last time I saw him was, I don't know, it's probably been 10 years ago, maybe a little bit less. We were hanging out at a buddy's house, and he starts texting him randomly. He's like, dude, this is the first time I've heard from him in 2 years. And I said, I know what it is. I know why he's messaging you. He saw all of us were at your house, and now he's going to want to come over and invite himself over. And that's exactly what happened. And after that, I haven't seen Joe since. Of course, Joe is no longer Joe. He finally went through with what he wanted to do, and now Joe is a woman. And from time to time, he, she, they, them, whatever he wants to go, or whatever pronoun that he wants to go by now, he can have it. That's fine, but he would mess me, man, you want to hang out? No. Or he'd try to act like we were friends, because one of the things I hate is the people that try to act like that we're friends and familiar with each other, and they'll get on like social media and talk shit and act like they know me. He's one of those people. I saw your picture. Is that your son? I said, son? And I just blocked him because I just didn't want to deal with him. I don't like him, her, they, them. I didn't want to deal with him because just putting up with him in high school like I did was enough. And no, I don't hate the person. It's just whatever. I don't want to deal with them because people don't change. And that's how I look at things. You can think, oh, people do change. No, they don't. People do not change. Maybe in very rare 1% of cases, but otherwise, people do not change. Joe is still an asshole. And a dick. He just happens to not have one now, as far as I can tell.